Hello, this is Richard Pears from FinextraTV, and I'm joined today by Christina from BlueMark. We were joking beforehand that I was going to panic and not say your surname, and that's exactly what's happening. Christina, tell us your surname and which company you're from.
Sure, I'm Christina Leijonhufvud, and I'm from BlueMark. I'm the CEO of BlueMark.
Fantastic. So, I knew I'd blank at the last minute on that. But listen, really great to have you on with us today. So I was listening to one of the webinars where you were launching BlueMark. And on the Sustainable Finance channel, we're constantly talking about how we can get capital to projects which are really going to make an impact in the world. And we know one of the things that holds the capital back is that people worry about whether the risk and the due diligence is done to make sure the proceeds end up to deliver the outcome that was intended. So verification is super interesting, I think, in this whole journey. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But tell us, the difference between Tideline and BlueMark and what you launched, when I was listening in a couple of weeks ago, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure, absolutely, Richard, and thank you so much for having me on your channel. Tideline is a specialized impact investment consulting firm that I and my two co-founders, Ben Thornley and Kim Wright-Vielich, launched some 6.5 years ago. And we launched Tideline in order to meet what we saw as a critical need amongst institutional asset owners and asset managers for professional consulting services grounded in finance and investment expertise and help in designing impact investment strategies and products. We sort of stumbled into the verification business, honestly, last year, recognizing with our clients that really, as the market has grown in mainstream, there's just been a critical and growing demand for assurance services. And we launched BlueMark on the back of that need. So BlueMark is an independent subsidiary of Tideline with a dedicated team and a completely separate legal entity, and we're focused on the impact verification.
Brilliant. And I was interested when you started, you had a great roster of clients and partners with you, one of which was Leapfrog, and of course, they were talking about now they have a $1.6 billion of assets under management, and how they've grown, I think, their customers since the life cycle about 32%, and even that they have 205 million clients or customers in their businesses that they invest in. So they represent this kind of fantastic organization that's doing impact investing. And as he said, they kind of put their heart in their hands and went to you and said, can you verify that what we're doing is what we think we're doing almost? Tell us a bit more about that story, and then and how what you do applies to firms like that and others.
Sure. Well, Leapfrog's a firm we've known for some time, and we were really delighted to have Leapfrog as our first verification client. They represent a firm that really approached the verification exercise as part of a learning journey. They're very committed at Leapfrog to achieving sort of best practice impact management, measurement, and performance. And the verification exercise that we undertook with Leapfrog was, in fact, what we call an impact management practice verification. So really a look under the hood at the systems, the processes, and tools that Leapfrog has in place to really back up their claims that they are doing everything they can to achieve the targeted impact that they've set out for themselves. So we evaluated them against a new standard called the Operating Principles for Impact Management, to which Leapfrog, amongst hundreds some other signatories, have signed up, really launched by the IFC, the private sector arm of the World Bank. Although I can't disclose specific, a lot of specific private details of Leapfrog systems, I can say that Leapfrog achieved really strong marks. They had very advanced practice, I'd say, against those standards. And even those clients with advanced practice have things to learn, things to improve upon. So an important part of the way we've designed our verification services with that learning value in mind, really a consultative mindset. So we're looking at the areas of strength, the areas of weakness, providing recommendations on what gaps need to be filled to achieve best practice. Just so happened Leapfrog was already quite advanced in their practice.
Yeah, I mean, this is still a young industry, and I think, sort of seeking perfection, that's the enemy of the good. You've got to do as you just described. You've got to learn and see gaps, and then bootstrap and iterate forward fast. Prove yourself out as a market leader, and then others will copy and follow. So I think that's entirely the right thing to do. And with that sort of spirit in mind, I'm going to ask the question, which is who verifies the verifier, and how do you go about your business so that the skeptic out there would go, okay, I really do feel confident that this value chain is operating as it should do?
Yeah, it's a great question. Honestly, I think the ultimate verifier of the verifier are the end users of the service. So not only the clients directly. I think clients obviously vote with their wallets and they vote with their feet. They choose the verifier that's going to give them best value for their money, so to speak. And I think clients are choosing BlueMark because we've come at this exercise not as a check the box, simply compliance exercise, but rather a service that we think needs to really produce a few values in the market. One is, accountability, just a basic threshold of accountability. Another is comparability. We want to help our clients and their stakeholders be able to compare practices and performance across different investors and companies. So we're benchmarking them. We're actually rating their practices. And, discipline. This is really about inducing, continually raising the bar, inducing that sort of natural competitive dynamic in the market whereby investors seek to one-up each other by continually improving their practices and performance, and thereby creating a virtuous cycle. So I think the clients and their end users, the ultimate asset owners, the arbiter of what represents a quality verification. We also have some of the standard setters like the IFC's Secretariat for the Operating Principles and UNDP doing some work to provide guidance on what represents a quality verification.
Great. And so give us a sense of where you see, this business going. We spoke a little bit in the preamble about technology. Today, from what I can understand, and correct me where I'm wrong, you're using these frameworks and best practices from the bodies that you just mentioned, obviously adding your own value to that, and applying very much a sort of a human experience on examining and verifying. Do you see, one, is that right? And also, do you see a role for technology in some ways enabling you from both checking what people are doing? Of course, satellites and so forth, are a great new phase we're all talking about, but even more prosaic things, just, using technology to get through quicker so you can process and see more people.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's absolutely an important part of what we see the future for the business. I think we are very committed to making our services accessible, widely accessible, and cost efficient for clients. We think that's the only way that verification will be taken up and really useful to the broad cross section of the market. So we've already introduced, kind of a new service on the practice verification front that we're calling Access Point, which does leverage some fairly simple technology tools, honestly, really SaaS tools and survey tools to help our clients sort of upload a lot of the information by themselves to start out with. So kind of almost take themselves through an initial self-assessment, cutting down the sort of time and human intensity of the verification exercise. That's allowed us for some of the smaller boutique managers to cut down the cost of our service quite a bit. I think, it's important to step back and just think about verification on a number of different levels. Impact has a number of different dimensions by which it needs to be verified in our minds. There's sort of the initial impact thesis or impact mandate of a manager. That in of itself, you can accept a manager's impact thesis and mandate at face value, or you can get it verified. And we have been hired actually by some of the LPs to verify the impact mandate of managers. And that is, that is a fairly bespoke exercise, fairly consultative, requires some domain expertise and so on. Then there's the impact practice system verification. We have a very well-established rubric and a well-oiled machine for conducting that. And I think there are, as I just mentioned, a number of sort of software tools and so on that will continue to make our service more and more efficient. And then there's sort of the impact performance, impact measurement, and impact reporting verification. On that side of the equation, I think that's where technology really comes into play in a big way. And we're already seeing a lot of players in the market. It's a crowded space when it comes to impact measurement and reporting tools and technologies, softwares, but also, as you said, the use of satellite imagery, GPS systems, big data, blockchain technologies. All of these things become, I think, really important to create efficient means of gathering and collecting, but also verifying data.
Yeah, absolutely. So the future for Tideline BlueMark, if you think about it, you've, as you said, quite new, just recently launched this, so it's hard to start talking about the future when you're very firmly in the present. But how do you see this panning out, your future over the next couple of years?
Well, we're really thinking for the practice, the mandate, the reporting verifications. Those are the services that BlueMark is providing. And we expect this market ultimately will organize around a few dominant players, much like the credit rating agency market has. I think the market needs some comparability of verifications, but they need, I think, again, a few reliable players, not dozens and dozens of players that are all doing it in different ways. And we expect BlueMark to be one of those dominant players. So again, much like S&P, Moody's, and Fitch, love them or hate them in the credit rating agency market, it's a market that's well organized, has a recognized product. I hope we'll do it even better than the credit rating agencies, and that BlueMark will be one of those dominant players.
Fantastic. And if people, want to follow your story and keep in touch with you guys, they jump off to the website, I'm sure. But what's the sort of way that you'd like people to be in touch with your journey?
Well, thanks so much, Richard. BlueMarkTideline.com is our website. We have a lot of information there on our services and on the firm, and there all our contact details are there as well.
Good stuff. Well, listen, thanks so much for joining us today. I think it's a super important area, and thanks for getting into this area, bootstrapping it up, and we look forward to your journey and scale globally to that, hopefully that global player that you described.
Thanks so much, Richard. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your time. All the best.
Okay.